You can't imagine this. How could you? You just can't.
Hi, my name is Jared. Before my Lyme disease got so bad I was able to talk. Now I have to use a communication device.
I wasn't a real healthy pregnant mom with him. Well, in retrospect, I realized that I was sick. I had Lyme disease, and I did not realize that that's what was going on. I knew something wasn't right from the time he was born. I knew it. I kept getting poo-pooed by the doctors. They said, just let him be and it'll all work out. And it didn't work out.
Ready? Okay.
At age 6, we got the news that he had brain damage, and they didn't really know why. They thought it was something that happened in utero, and that the damage was done, and then we were to just keep moving forward. But he didn't move forward. He kept moving backwards.
Get you a bend, bud.
Lyme disease happened to be everywhere around us by then. It was as if every neighbor was coming down with it, and it was like hitting me from every direction, as if, you know, wake up, dummy, you're not paying attention. You know, there's Lyme disease everywhere. There's a gentleman who lives right up on the hill up here, and his previous wife passed away. She had Lyme disease, and now he's remarried, and his new wife has Lyme disease.
This man here was very ill from Lyme disease. In the house over here to your right, those people had it, and same with the lady that lives here. She has it.
I put a lot of faith in the doctors. I believe them. I want to just shake them and say, how many more kids are you going to let go untreated because you're not recognizing what's happening here?
I've never seen a child who's had late-stage neurologic Lyme disease. We just don't see late neurologic disease in children.
I used to do ballet, and I was in the Nutcracker a bunch of times. That time of year was always really crazy and running around, going to rehearsals and stuff, but I loved it.
Her ankle was bothering her. Then her right knee blew up, and they tapped into it, and they found that she had late-stage Lyme, and it was in her brain.
She just went downhill very fast. All of a sudden, she couldn't pick up a knife, pick up a fork, couldn't write with a pencil. And this all transpired in the time frame of overnight.
They insisted that she's making it up and that she was going to have to go on psychiatric medication if she didn't stop it. Rock bottom to me was that summer before we went to see Dr. Jones. She couldn't hold her head up. She couldn't sit up. She couldn't talk anymore. And not knowing if they were going to keep her on the medication, because they kept saying, no, only 28 days. And I said, well, I'm going to Connecticut, and I'm going to see this other doctor. And them fighting me and saying, well, he's controversial. And something in me just kept saying, no, you're going.
The thing that gives me most joy in treating the children with Lyme disease is seeing them get well and cured. I don't consider it a job. I consider it to be more or less like a calling than anything. My practice consists of over 9,000 children from every state in America, from South America, from almost every province in Canada, and from every continent abroad. The practice is growing at the rate of 5 to 10 new encounters per day. They have very complex, serious illnesses. However, it's nice to see them get well.
Some of the Lyme literate physicians are practicing medicine that is widely outside of the standards of medical care. The small group of physicians feel that one can diagnose Lyme disease on clinical grounds alone, not necessarily relying on any laboratory data. And then furthermore, long-term antibiotics are the right treatment. That has never been shown in any double-blind controlled randomized trial.
I've worked here for 8 years, and I've seen many patients come and go, and I've seen the success he's had in his treatment regimen. Yes, we do treat aggressively, but I think that's what works.
In a way, it's like the perfect storm of diseases because of the timing of a couple different events in the history of medicine. 1980, the United States said it was okay for government institutions and universities to patent and profit from live organisms. So the Lyme disease organism was discovered in 1981, and all of a sudden there was the equivalent of an Oklahoma land grab, people looking under their microscopes, patenting pieces of the organism. So the people that are credited for being the Lyme disease experts no longer shared information about a new, really dangerous pathogen. They hoarded the information because they wanted to protect future profits.
You have professors, especially in the biosciences, are trying to take their discoveries, often made on the federal nickel, and take them private. They patent them, they start firms. What's commercializable is driving the research agenda in too many cases, not what's medically necessary and what's medically useful.
The other thing that happened was the rise of managed care. Insurance companies and HMOs realized that if they can get researchers in universities to define diseases and write guidelines for diseases a certain way, then they could help manage the escalating medical costs. And really what this means is the people who previously protected public health, so like the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, and the NIH, and universities who didn't have any commercial interests, all of a sudden they were partners with Big Pharma, and their motivations completely changed. We no longer had oversight and checks and balances in our scientific system in the U.S. It was rife with conflicts, and just now, 20 years later, we're beginning to see what happens when you have unchecked conflicts in medical care.
Okay, today is July 5th, and Mandy's having a little bit of an episode.
It's a feeling of being trapped within your own body. So it's like being wrapped up real tight like a mummy, so you can't move anything. And then having tape across your mouth, so you can't say anything. But reality is, you gotta kill them. You gotta kill the little bugs, because they're taking over. No, I was okay. I was adapting my life to what was going on. Now I want it back. So it's a war.
It got so bad after the tour because I really did some damage. Wasn't willing to admit it to myself or anyone. I'm in Seattle, Washington to see Dr. Klinghardt, one of the foremost specialists on Lyme disease.
This is great. I feel horrible. It's perfect.
He's the one that I respect the most. He's the one that I trust. I've purposely not let myself fall into the whole trap of doctor after doctor and treatment after treatment because I'm waiting for the right one.
You guys ready? Hold back, guys.
This guy. Really?
Glad to see you too. So talk to me first. Give me all the information I need to be a better doctor to you.
So how do I explain 7 years of...
Okay, so you've been ill for 7 years.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
37.
What have you done in terms of treatment?
When I found out, I started antibiotics. I did 6 months and I was so ill. And I just didn't see it as an answer.
Lyme disease is one of the many microbes that has entered our system. And I feel as a physician that things are getting to a degree that's serious. We're watching other mammals die out and kind of think, well, I'm glad it's not me. However, as our environment becomes increasingly polluted, so do our bodies. And then we'll grow the bugs in us that are not compatible with human life anymore. So you have a tremendous amount of inflammation in the gut. The Lyme disease, leads to a suppression of the immune system, and then you grow these things in you that we're always exposed to. So I'm just going to first do just a few neurological tests on you. So you have a little bit borderline Babinski reflex. It's an upper motor neuron sign. It means sort of that significant levels of toxicity in spinal cord or brain, which is a way for me to stage how close you are to possibly developing like a more serious thing like MS. Older people often get Parkinson's after they've had undiagnosed Lyme, or Alzheimer's. Younger people tend to, especially women, tend to get MS.
It really struck me today how much I've been in denial of this illness. I mean, and I've been feeling really twitchy and just shaky, a lot of neurological stuff. But it's like I can't deny it anymore. It's becoming very visible, so I think I'm just in time.
There's a warning sign. This is not a mild situation. You're sort of like, you have to do, within the next few months, you have to resolve the issues that you can resolve. You have to promise that to me.
I'm ready.
Yeah?
Yeah. It feels like just emergency. It's just a panic in my body that I've learned to just walk around with. Yeah, this is Dana. I am moving into 314. I finally feel like I can let go of it and give it to somebody else to take. There's someone to take my hand and get me through it. I really felt like that today. I can't believe I moved to Seattle. This is so crazy.
The spirochete that causes Lyme disease is Borrelia burgdorferi and related Borrelia. The model that I have used to try to understand all of the possible things that Lyme disease can do is the syphilis model. Stokes, Modern Clinical Syphilology, 1945, W.B. Saunders publisher. It gets into every organ system of the body, and there are chapters on manifestations in the skin, manifestations in dead babies, manifestations in the bone, manifestations in the brain, and particularly dementia, because dementia and syphilis was general paresis, and general paresis is as close as you could come to a carbon copy of Alzheimer's disease. The diseases are exactly the same. If a spirochete, syphilis, could cause dementia, why couldn't the Borrelia spirochete, over a long, long, long period of time, cause Alzheimer's disease? I extracted DNA from 10 Alzheimer brains that came from the Harvard University Brain Bank. These are the Harvard brain DNA extracts in this tube. Using molecular methods, I was able to find the DNA of the spirochete, which causes Lyme disease, in 7 out of 10 of the Alzheimer brain specimens that we received from Harvard. That's incredible. the results of the experiment could not have been predicted in anybody's imagination when 7 Alzheimer brains gave me essentially the same thing, which is part spirochetal, part human, linked up in one molecule. I about fell off my chair.
If my dream comes true someday, that will redefine the practice of medicine. That will redefine the lives of millions of people. Since spirochetes are the cause of neurodegenerative diseases and syphilis, could it be that this spirochetal infection, Lyme disease, is partly or wholly responsible for some of the neurologic degenerative diseases we face in this century?
Alzheimer's, Lou Gehrig's disease, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis. Those are named conditions for which no cause is now known.
We never had, in the last 5 years, a single MS patient, a single ALS patient, a single Parkinson's patient who did not test positive for Borrelia burgdorferi. Not a single one.
About 3 years ago, I became ill with the disease that was ultimately thought to be ALS or Lou Gehrig disease, and had prepared to die within about 2 years' time. My neurologist tells me that I was progressing so rapidly that without the diagnosis of Lyme disease and antibiotics, I would have continued to decline, losing strength, eventually becoming bedbound, eventually unable to talk or swallow or breathe, and would have died in a matter of a couple of years, just like anybody else with ALS. So I was started on high doses of intravenous antibiotics, only to see what would happen with no guarantees. To our amazement, within a month, my energy improved, so instead of being exhausted in an hour, I could be up and about and active for 4 or 5 hours. We're now 2 years out, and I find that if I go off of the antibiotics, I lose stamina and I'm not yet back to my full self. But the change is absolutely dramatic.
I said, I'm not getting tested. I said, there's no way. There's no way I have Lyme because I've been told by the best doctors that I have Parkinson's. My name is Ben Petrick. Baseball was kind of like my life. I went from being a gifted athlete to, there's times when it's hard to put a shirt on. I've been out of the game now for almost 2 years. When you're diagnosed with a disease like Parkinson's, it's like a slow death sentence. That's kind of what you feel like. There's no cure for it. It's just kind of a slow deterioration of your former self. Recently, in the past month, I've been tested for Lyme disease, and a test came back positive, and so I've gone and seen Dr. Martz in Colorado Springs. We're scared. My wife and I are sitting there going, do we want to do this? Because they're talking about sticking something in my vein that's going to go into my big artery, it's going to go into my heart. I'm going, what? So, I said to Dr. Martz, and Dr. Martz is phenomenal, and his stories is just miraculous. And I said, should I do this? And he said, Ben, if you were part of my family, I would chain you down and not let you leave here until you have this done. Six months into the Lyme treatment, it's without a doubt better. I mean, there's no question in my mind. I feel like I'm getting back to being myself. compared to what I have been in the past. I mean, I think it's night and day.
What I'm doing right now is sitting in my wheelchair. Sean doesn't like to videotape it. So we've gotten a couple tips about that because I think it's important for other people to see this.
There are times when I feel like I need to get away. Not that I'm trying to run away from her, but that...
It's too much.
Sometimes I need to go and do the things that I used to do before this started just to feel like, okay, that life is still there. You know, I mean, just like her,
That feeling's there for me too, and I just can't.
I know.
We were told it was going to be a long road. That doesn't mean that I don't worry about it driving a wedge. It doesn't mean that I don't think that maybe at some point Sean might change his mind.